5, 4,
Hey,
3,
do a quick sound
2,
check. Just say
1.
some random thing you want to say. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Sir Robert, and I'm doing a sound check.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Jared doing a sound check.
Jacob doing a sound check.
The rain in Spain stays mainly in the plain.
Fire.
Water.
I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't on the thing.
That's okay, but it should record the recording.
We're going to head on down to West Texas with some buddies, jump in the back of a pickup truck, shirts off, margaritas in hand. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I concur.
Okay.
What he said.
It seems fine. We can hear everybody.
Okay, great. Aaron had to, not had to, Jacob, that's on the louder side. Aaron had to, or got to go to a ladies' cookie exchange for Christmas cookies, and we'll be back shortly. Let me get this for you guys, and then we will start.
The guys are doing a backhanded compliment exchange, just to clarify.
It'll definitely
Sounds like a
be
terrible idea.
I think it'll be the third, maybe fourth most fun thing I will have done today.
Look, I like less than half of you, less than half as much as you deserve.
That's right. Let's see.
Jacob, come on. Backhanded compliment?
I don't have any.
I'd compliment all of you if any of you deserved it.
We are.
Okay, here is the.
We can start whenever. We're streaming now.
Yep, just keep it streaming. Here we come.
Sounds like slang. Keep it streaming, bro.
That's right, bruh.
Bruh.
You have to get swamped in the middle of the word there. I'm just stuck there.
That's right, it was a little too much for me. All right. And I think I'm muted on this one. And that one.
And when I was
Better
a
bring
kid,
up my
I was
character
wondering
sheet.
what color on Enza.
All right. So, because of our audio troubles last time, I went ahead and wrote up a brief synopsis. I'll just read it at the beginning in the previously on. It's like maybe a minute or two. This guy.
Would it be helpful to just like, I could like, I'm pretty sure I could just
Thanks, LT.
OBS from that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
From
I thought about that too. Basically, oh, that's my. All right, there we go. I don't know what happened there.
Our stream's gonna get shut down. Copyright.
Please select an option for headphones. I'm not using headphones.
I'll be left.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's do this. I won't be able to see anybody's faces because my computer is being super slow, but whatever.
Hail,
Faces,
Jacob.
faces, that's what I always say.
Feel free to adjust them to how you want to see them. All right.
So you can see both of us.
Jared, that beard looks good, buddy.
Thank you.
Are you
Getting
a
full.
Hasid? It's very dignified.
Here we go. Season 3. What do I have here? Production. Nope. It's under season 3 scripts. Boilerplate. Here we go.
Excuse me.
Let's get into it. This is The Dying of the Light, Season 3 of the Starfall Collective. The Starfall Collective is a collaborative storytelling group using the Dungeons & Dragons game system as a vehicle for creating rich and hopefully compelling stories in a fictional world that we've been developing together for a while. You can find out more about the collective as well as the stories we're telling at starfallcollective.com. We're back with another episode. Let's find out who's in this episode. I'm Sir Robert, a father and entrepreneur, and I'm the host of this season's story, as well as Dust in the Wind. With me tonight are a few friends playing the characters in this drama. Sorry. That's all right. That was Foley, brought to you by one of our sponsors.
Rip it, baby.
What was that from? Dang, I can't remember now. From News Radio. Oh man, Phil Hartman. Having a malt liquor sponsored. He was like, I don't know. It was really funny. Okay. Please say your name. Please say your name, something about yourself if you like, and a brief description of the character you're playing. Why don't we start with you, Jacob?
Hey, my name is Jacob Burbridge, and I will be playing Talad, who has recently admired the magnificent structuring of some stone obelisk things.
Mm-hmm. Good. Jared?
My name is Jared. I'm playing Yoshka, who just got his childhood idol crushed. Human bard.
Okay. And Dwight?
I'm playing Belvari, and I will never trust again.
Okay, Matt.
Hi, I'm Matthew Talamini, a writer and web developer based in Providence, Rhode Island. You can find my stuff at MatthewTalamini.com. That's Matthew, TALAMINI.com. I'm playing the shirtless wizard Diamondback, who is dead set on a very specific goal.
Good wordplay there. And Pat?
Hello, my name is Patrick. I am playing the character of Toll, and I'm hoping that this major announcement that Riverside has tomorrow is an Android app, so I can actually show my face on the camera. Otherwise, I might have to just break down and buy a webcam.
Fair enough. And Josh?
Hi, my name is Josh. I'm a, let's go with dreamer and Bigfoot enthusiast. You can find my interview talking about Bigfoot on the Bigfoot Society podcast with Jeremiah. And I am playing Inkatink, a corvid simian of many voices. And most recently, he has been trying in earnest to change the dynamics of power and trust between himself and the party.
All right.
LT says it sounds good so far.
Okay, good.
That was 4 minutes ago.
Okay. LT said so far to him it sounds good as of a couple minutes ago. So just for our listening audience and our playing audience, previously we had some difficulties with the audio in the last episode. So I'm going to do a recap this time that will get everybody in the same, hopefully in the same headspace for where we are. And then we'll pull into the what is what. So previously, the party has pieced together a few things about the world recently. They've discovered that, according to the Oravan, the land they all come from is the domain of Cinderon, who, quote, watches over us and tends to all the living creatures, people and beasts, in his lands. When they crossed the great river escaping from the Oravan and the Iron Bell, when they crossed the great river, through the sending stone they got from Spolash, they heard Spolash tell his aide-de-camp that the party had, quote, left the benevolence of Cinderon and had put themselves into, quote, the flayed hands of Garatone. He also mentioned that he didn't believe that he and his host of people and animals could survive in Garatone's land. In the morning, so the party went and spent the night, you'll recall. And in the morning, Diamondback and Toll set about breaking camp while Belvari searched for creatures nearby. After the conflict of the prior night between Diamondback and Inkatink, Diamondback had expressed mistrust of Inkatink due to the way that Inkatink had handled the potion machine. With a conciliatory sigh, Inkatink handed Diamondback his own file of potion back. Diamondback immediately began pushing the party that he should quaff the tiny potion and have the party move on to find his, Diamondback's, magic focus. Then to continue on and find those for the rest of the party. He argued that with that kind of power concentrated in their hands, they could make a real threat to the Iron Bell. And they would all be in a much better position to rescue friends, rescue loved ones, and pursue their other various interests.
Resurrect corpses.
Resurrect things, whatever. Yoshka had...
He's just a necromancer trying to raise a family in peace.
That's right. Yoshka had a tough choice to make. He wants to find his father, and he thinks they're closer than ever to finding him. He wanted to warn his father about the Oravan, but also to find out what his father already knows. Is that about right? Yeah. Okay. Though Yoshka wanted to travel back to Cinderon's lands, he knows that as a wanted fugitive with many beasts and Iron Bell on the prowl, the odds are slim that he could survive the journey. In the morning, that same morning, Belvari noticed that there were no animals to be found. He did, however, a group of birds, ravens and crows who were flying overhead. Translating with the fowl on Yoshka's behalf, Belvari heard some concerning things and communicated some of it to the party. Rumors of the quick and the dead and the undead. Yoshka finally decided to cast a spell to help him utilize a couple of these birds to send a message to his father. He instructed the birds to find a certain young woman in a certain town and to pass on a message through her to his father. Belvari hired one of these ominous birds in exchange for meat rations, which the crow called flesh, to let him know if there were any people or groups nearby. The group was discussing the events of the past few days, and someone mentioned that the Oravan's barrels were distributed by the Menuhin Wayfarers to hide towns that were opposed to the rule of the Iron Bell. Hearing the group discussing the Oravan barrels, Talad commented that the Oravan called the barrels, quote, beacons, and that they're used to find towns, not to hide them. Yoshka and Neno did an experiment with the last bit of the magic fluid from the Oravan's barrels and discovered that the fluid does indeed absorb magic and hide the magic's presence, as the Menuhin Wayfarers thought. But the pair discovered another more uncomfortable truth about it. It to re-release that power explosively. For a few moments, Yoshka himself became a blindingly bright conduit for the power contained in only a few drops of the fluid. Having possibly released a beacon, the party decided to pursue Diamondback's plan with haste.
Well, Diamondback decided to pursue Diamondback's plan of haste.
Yoshka agreed.
With him.
Yeah,
Okay.
which effectively has been counting as the party. Interestingly, right? Like
Yeah.
you're right though. It wasn't like a unanimous exactly. It was more of a.
I thought I'd remembered Diamondback just going. I didn't remember.
He certainly moved along. He didn't object. Even
Which brings me to my primary beef with your synopsis, highlighting the main power struggle as being between Diamondback and Inkatink. Inkatink would perceive that to be between Diamondback and Yoshka on the fulcrum of action versus analysis.
Yeah. Well, I just said the struggle was there was a struggle between Diamondback and Inkatink. I think there might have been some other struggles as well. But you're right. I'm open to you guys adding and canonizing the interpersonal elements of this as you will. Diamondback drinks down the potion and he feels a magical force forward, but in which direction? The force settles like a sort of internal compass, filling Diamondback with an urge to travel north-northeast, deeper into Garatone's domain. It's about an hour after dawn when the party departs their campground, following Diamondback, who is himself following an unknown force to an unknown destination in this unknown land.
So what else is new?
You
Par
have
for the
been.
course.
That's right. You have been jogging forward, Diamondback, for a couple of hours, taking an occasional breather if necessary to a walking pace to catch your breath or something like that. But you're making good, brisk time. It's now mid-morning, and you have been traveling for a couple of hours. The forest has a moldering smell, like compost. It's not unpleasant. It smells like farm and forest, but it's stronger than you're used to in the forest wilderness. And maybe some of you might be on edge about what that could mean. The terrain is flat, and the soil is moist, though not wet. Light filters in from overhead, dimmer and less even than in your homewood. The air is warmer and wetter as well. Not a swamp, but humid nonetheless. A couple of blackbirds fly overhead, intermitting the silence with occasional cries. And you've passed a few more of those black stones protruding from the ground here and there. They're uncommon. You see only one every half hour or so. But are there more than there were yesterday? It's hard to tell. What would you guys like to do?
Press on.
Listen, if we are going into the land of the dead, I think I can speak with the living, and sometimes I am learning to beasts and speak with them, but we need some sort of protection. Are there any magics? I feel I have heard stories of the holy ones that the dead could not touch. If Erin was here, I would specifically ask her because she's a cleric.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Aaron should be here soon, but let me ask you this. Are any of you looking for any components on the way, or are you just all singularly focused on keeping up with Diamondback?
Belvari
Or other things, I'm sorry, or other things. It could be not those two.
Belvari is mostly looking around, expecting someone to attack us.
Okay.
He would actually go up to Toll and say, "Hey, Toll, if you're willing to keep an eye out mostly to the left, I can look mostly to the right, or vice versa, and kind of half the amount of space we have to be observing."
Sure.
What did Toll say?
Toll said sure.
And Patrick, your mic's a little bit hot, or maybe it's close to your mouth. I'm not sure.
It is, but it's on my headphones, but I can try to move it a little further back.
Okay. That's a little better.
That is a little better? Okay. Can I turn my own input volume?
Yeah,
I think you're good. That sounds like
you
it's
should be
pretty
able to turn it
level
down
right there.
if you want.
Okay,
to.
cool.
And Inkatink would like to look for components with the spell protection from evil and good.
Okay.
That's the one. Listen, we have this. Still have 5 feathers from the silky beaked macaw, but it looks like it must be combined with something else.
And remind everybody why you're bringing up the feathers.
So protection from good and evil is a level 1 spell, and we have one of the 2 components necessary to cast that.
Okay.
It will protect from undead.
I suppose I couldn't. I was going to say, I suppose I couldn't be discovering components while I'm out for beasties, or.
I'll let you do it with disadvantage. The idea there being, if you happen to see something, you happen to. That's fine.
When Yoshka mentions the spell protection from good and evil, what's the specific component that the party has or that you have, Yoshka?
In the party pack, there's the down of the silky beaked macaw.
Yeah, I have Diamondback has more of the same from Gulb's pouch originally, but not a different one that could be used to combine with it.
Okay. And I actually have one different component for it, but we want everybody to be able to have that to be protected for 10 minutes.
So yeah, can Inkatink make any kind of check while they're traveling to do that?
Who would like to put their full attention, and by full attention I mean, sorry, I'm going to wait for a little bit of sound to quiet down there. Something happening around. And I'm only, when I say that, I'm only just waiting for the sake of the recording. Who would like to put their full attention, and by full attention I mean obviously except for staying with the party in general. So who would like to put their full attention to looking for components, and would you like to look for a particular type of component or just anything magical?
He'll just look for anything magical. Isn't really picky.
Okay.
I was thinking I was doing that anyway.
Okay. And would you guys, can you guys hear Neno okay? Aaron Joy okay?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
And I would like to be picky and look exclusively for protection from evil and good.
Okay. And,
When I said discover, I meant the ones that I have in my pouch that I don't know what they do yet.
Aha. Yes, that requires dedicated time to do that during a rest or something.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll look for stuff.
Okay, sounds good. Also, I should say with the detect magic spell, you can move along quite quickly in that endeavor. So we'll get there in a minute. Okay, so y'all were looking for various things. Why don't here and roll me. There you go. Just roll it for me, and we're going to give you, because of the train, you're in a DC 10.
13.
A 13. And that can be on your investigation. No, actually, I'm sorry. Arcana. That'll be what you did. However, a 13 passes unless you have like a -4. So
Let's hope not.
yeah. And roll me another DC, if you will, another DC 20.
Right. 4. There's no way I'm doing that. So passing it, I mean.
No. It's actually a different thing. This was the way we're planning on doing it here. That's how many spell levels of stuff you find.
And that isn't affected by anything?
Nope.
Because I actually have a +4 to Arcana. So
sorry. Okay. Talad, do you have I'm using your computer, aren't I? Want me to write down on paper?
Yeah.
Or somebody else could in Talad's or in the group pouch and put it in Talad?
It's fine. Just say what it is.
Okay. Talad, you actually managed to find, let's see here.
I have that open. I can tuck it somewhere. Whatever that's
Give me 1 second. I'm getting one. Yeah, you find actually, as you are looking around, you see you know what? Let me do this the right way here. I'm sorry. Give me a second. This will work. Talad, here's what you find. You find the partially eaten remains of a snake. In particular, you find most of the head intact of a grim-scaled boa constrictor. It's a large head, it's a good 6 inches across. And the thing you were able to notice out of it that has a bit of that magic that you were able to sense by studying it is the tongue. So you got 2 usable pieces of tongue from a grim-scaled boa constrictor.
Wow.
Inkatink, you were looking specifically for your, what was it?
Protection from evil and good, and I rolled a natural 20.
You did roll a natural 20. Okay, and roll me another D20.
Another D20, okay? 19.
Wow.
Yo soy en fuego, if you'll pardon the Spanglish.
So, would
This is
you
how we're gonna stay alive.
would you like to focus on a number of components that have weaker spell magic on it, or are you looking for more powerful things? I know you specifically want the one you said, which is a weaker spell. Do you want to try to find a lot of those, or a few of those, and some more higher level stuff?
A lot of them.
Okay, sounds good. Give me 1 second here. That is a level 1 spell, isn't it?
It is indeed.
Okay. Right here. And sorry. I had to write that down. Okay. Here's what you find. Roll. I'll roll you the dice here. Sorry. Oops. You have. Dropped. Okay. You find another carcass that is actually more intact than his, but it's old and growing out of the side, this decayed side of a bloated cow. This is an orange-footed cow. It has orange hooves. It has fallen over dead and decayed, and the stomach bloated and then collapsed. And out of that is growing some mushrooms and other things. But from that corpse, there is the mushrooms have soaked up a lot of that blood. So if you take a piece of those little mushrooms, the blood of the orange-footed cow, you find in particular 5 bits of that.
Okay.
The pumpkin steppers, we called them.
As well as
Their feet are orange.
Inkatink, you as you were going along, you had a couple of cantrips at your disposal that you had just picked up along the way, and after a moment, you actually saw a little flash of motion and used a spell like Firebolt or Chill Touch or something, and at the little piece of motion, just some idle target practice, and you actually downed a couple of red-footed finches.
Okay.
Out of the trees. They fell to the ground, and to your surprise, they also had a little bit of magic in them. As a matter of fact, you were able to extract from them 3 bits of brain that have some magic. Red-footed finch.
Was it theirs?
Good question.
They just like eating brains.
Okay, that's it for Inkatink. Yoshiko, what were you going to do with it?
You're like,
Looking for something in particular or looking for general?
He's actually not going to look once he sees other people are looking. He's just going to be on watch.
Okay. Like Belvari and Toll.
Oh, they're already on watch?
Belvari is watching the left, Toll's watching the right.
Oh, great. Okay. Well,
I'll
I'll
have a
just.
crow flying around watching everywhere.
All right, I'll just explore then.
Okay.
Look for components.
Roll me a d20 Arcana against a DC 10. This is it's been a very quiet day so far.
By the way, Sir Robert, as per usual, Diamondback has his flying snake doing a sort of radar ping radius around
Don't
the
eat my
group
crow.
with its
Similar to
usual
the crow.
instructions.
Yep. Would you roll?
Snakes.
Not quite.
Not quite. Okay. And Aaron Joy, you were also searching for just anything, right?
Yep.
Similarly, an Arcana roll against a 10.
Arcana against 10. It's rolling very slowly. It's still rolling. Sorry, D&D Beyond is.
I'm making the sound effect.
Well done. It's got to be a 13.
Maybe he needs
Okay.
a new pair of shoes.
Good. A 13 finds. And roll me another d20 to see kind of how much you find.
Just
a flat D20.
A 13.
Okay, 13. And do you want to focus on more, a fewer number of them but more powerful spells, or less power but greater number,
Um,
or neither? You don't care.
I don't care.
Sounds good. Here's what you find. Excuse me. Neno, you are looking around and you see, actually, to your partial, what's that?
Delight.
Yeah, to your partial delight. You actually find a persimmon tree. It has a few fruit on it. You don't know exactly where in the season you are for it, but it has a few of them,
Should
and they
definitely
seem.
eat it if it's not ripe yet.
And
It's
I'm
an
scared by your eyebrows.
experience.
Okay.
Just in life. Sorry.
Okay. Another way.
They seem good to eat. So you can, if you would like, take a ration of persimmons.
They
Okay.
must be right, because if they are not right, they are not rations.
They're- as well as you find the persimmon tree, you notice, because you're investigating it, and you look at the bottom of the tree, you grab 5 bits of root that you're able to extract that have some magic in them, as well as, let's see, one second, and being a plant and animal lover, you kind of were keeping your eye out for plants because you can harvest from them. Neno, if I remember correctly, prefers, I could be wrong, harvesting from them than killing stuff.
Probably.
Maybe.
That
Okay.
suits
Maybe I
me.
just made that up, but either way,
Not cracking open any wrens to get their brains.
that's right. And sorry, and what you find, Neno, is I'm finding you an animal one that matches our deal here. Yeah, there you go. You also find a let's use this one. That's pretty good. You find an elm tree, one that you have a kind that you've seen before. Actually, a fair amount of the vegetation in this area is different than the kinds you've seen before here in Garaton's land. But this one is an elm tree, and you recognize at least the kind of tree. It's a pig bark elm tree. The bark has a kind of leathery texture, almost like pigskin. And you are able to cut some branches of that, some strips of the branches. As a matter of fact, you get 3 pieces of wood from a pig bark elm.
Okay.
All right.
Persimmon tree. I'm noticing for some other names. Is there an adjective for the persimmon tree, or is it just a plain persimmon
I
tree?
am sure there is. Give me a sec.
I'm wondering if it's sleepy root, which is the other persimmon tree I have stuff from.
It is not. It is
Okay.
the prickly leaf
Okay.
persimmon tree. The root of the prickly leaf persimmon. Okay.
Diamondback,
Yes.
it comes to mind that in my traveling, I once heard of a man who was able to speak with the dead and ask them a few questions. Have you heard of this?
It's quite common in my village.
Have you ever done it?
Sadly, I myself have not done it, although I have considerable knowledge of its workings. I believe that it's the sort of thing I would be able to do if I could grow wiser. But no, and I don't have the components for it.
If you had what you needed, do you think you could?
Certainly.
If the ravens say there are dead all around, maybe they will be able to guide us where we need to go. If nothing else happens for the next hour, I'm going to switch to looking for that.
Looking for.
Components first, speak with the dead.
Okay. Give me 1 second here, and I've got to try to pull up our. There it is. This one right here. There we go. Sorry, I took a minute. All right.
Matt, is your character still experiencing pressure?
I believe
that
so.
Okay. We don't need guides.
What does it feel like?
How long's it been? So right now, y'all have been going for a lot of the morning. It's just before midday. The light is spread evenly through the forest around you. You are traveling along, and it's been probably, let's see, about 4 or 5 hours that y'all have been moving at a pretty quick clip. You've stopped a few times to, pick up the components that you've noticed, but Diamondback has been moving quickly in approximately the same direction all the time. Obviously, a little bit of land that you've had to, maneuver around, get around a boulder, get around a tree, but he's been singularly focused. Diamondback, as you're going, you start to think that the sensation you're feeling may not be pressing as hard as it was. You still are moving in the same direction. You can still feel it, but perhaps the effect is beginning to fade a little bit. You can continue going in the direction you're going, but because of that fading, you're a little less certain of exactly which direction to go. But you're pretty sure it's the same basic way. What do you want to do? Do you want to mention it to anybody? Do you want to keep on going?
Yes, I mention it right away to Yoshka,
Do
I
it.
guess.
Yeah, mention it to him.
I say the effect is starting to fade. I wish to press on with greater speed if possible.
Okay. Yoshka will stop looking for stuff. And have we been going basically one direction?
Yeah, pretty much consistently.
Great. At least
Again-
we're on track.
Again, a little bit of terrain to get around, but yeah.
If it fades, hopefully we can just continue.
Now, it may not be that kind of effect, but if you were feeling a pressure of this kind in your body, as you describe, and if you were to come closer to something, and the closer you came to it, the more you would feel it change as you go, off course to the left or to the right. Have I started noticing having to make more common course corrections?
You have not.
Thing to try triangulating. Just purposely don't follow it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Or go forward to
yeah,
the side.
I'd like to try something like that. I'm a wizard, so presumably I know some geometry, but I am not a
Cartographer?
cartographer. I'm not a ranger, so the geography aspect is likely to stymie me, but not the geometry. So maybe I speak with Inkatink, and I say, my feathered friend.
Inkatink's feathers fluff up and ruffle, and he looks at you, his head cocking around.
May I ask your assistance with a possibly difficult task?
Shoot, partner.
And I'm going to explain, like, right now, I feel like it's directly in front of me. And I want him to... oh, wait, he can't... I mean, I'm sort of asking him to use his one ability to fly for the day to give us, like, some sort of better ability to do this sort of geographical kind of triangulation that I want to do. I've seen him fly before. So I say, I'm right now. It seems to be directly ahead of me. If I intentionally go off course, 30 degrees to the right, for a quarter mile, and and then note the angle that I feel it at from that position. That may give us a sense using trigonometry, although I don't know if I would know to call it trigonometry, of how
What
far away
dark
the focus
magic
is.
you're talking about?
I think Inkatink gets a stick and brushes away the leaves and foliage of the forest floor and draws a straight line out, and he draws a little circle at the end of it. And he points at you and the back of your head and at the circle at the end of the line. And then he holds up his fingers and he points at you, points at himself, points at them floating through the air, and goes 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
With his fingers.
Yeah, with his fingers. And so he
With his
goes
talons. Right. So I'll
and
know
then
that-
5, he holds down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, coming back. And he draws a line over, draws a line out, and kind of shrugs at him like, is that good enough?
I think I understand your plan, friend. Let's do it. And real quick, I get a huddle, I explain the plan, taking only 1 minute to do it. Just boom, boom, boom. Trigonometry, angles. This guy can fly. We're going to try and figure this out real quick. And then we do it.
That 1 minute.
Yeah. Let's hear it in Diamondback's voice. It doesn't have to be the exact copy, the content of it, but give a similar synopsis from Diamondback. Hey guys, gather around. Or
Hey
whatever.
guys. I wouldn't say guys.
Sure.
Companions.
Yes.
Quickly. I believe our time is growing short. I wish to perform a geometrical triangulation on the location of this focus. Our feathered friend is going to fly me 5 minutes in a direction off course. And we're going to take a reading, a sounding, if you will, of the direction that it's pointing. Compare that to the direction it's currently pointing, and perhaps be able to create a triangle. If you would pay close attention to the landscape and use all of your tracking abilities and geographical knowledge, that would be most helpful to me at this time. And then I just like get in front of Inkatink and like put up my arms for him to pick me up.
Before you fly, draw a line on the ground so we stay pointed in the same direction while you're gone. Just in case you come back and you don't have your direction sense anymore, we want to keep walking.
Yes.
that way.
I do so. I actually we take some rope and I have somebody stand on it, and then I walk with my eyes closed in the direction of the thing, and maybe I walk into a tree gently, but we get, without me getting confused very much, with my eyes closed, I walk 5 feet or 10 feet in the direction, so we have a rope laid out on the ground in the exact direction that I've been feeling.
And then Inkatink takes off in flight and comes over and grips Diamondback's wrists with his talon-like hands. And actually, he comes back down and gets a piece of rope and puts it around him and ties it to himself. And he points at Belvari and points at one of his feathers, as if to say, "You're a couple of pounds heavier. You're still within range." And then they fly.
All right.
So I guess he hands you a stick or something so that you can point it in the direction, so that he's not having to look down at you.
So
And
real quickly,
they fly for 5 minutes to the right.
So real quickly for our listening audience, this is for Inkatink. You would be aware of this, that if you are in the air when your ability to fly leaves you, it'll be an unpleasant experience for both you and Diamondback. You're going to want to make sure that you alight before the thing wears off. I'll leave it to you to make that judgment.
He's not too worried about the first 5 minutes, and he just doesn't want to get super far away from the rest of the party.
The question is how accurately you can measure 5 minutes. We will roll for that.
Is that a survival check or an intelligence check, or?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll tell you about that. But
Okay.
first, so you guys fly, and you're going to go to the right-hand side of where you were pointing.
Yep.
I suppose
And
so.
Something
tell me,
like
Diamondback, are you looking
45
for?
degrees.
Sorry, 45.
Yeah, I think 45.
Okay.
I thought you would want to go 90 to get the most triangulation.
Sure, let's go 90 degrees.
So Diamondback, how you determine this 90 degrees?
We start at the rope,
Uh-huh.
and
You
then
fly upward.
I stand with my toes perpendicular to the rope,
Yes, indeed, you do.
and then Inkatink picks me up and flies
Okay.
me in the
So
direction
y'all
I'm
are
facing.
flying, and how far off the ground are you trying to fly? Above the canopy or below it?
So Inkatink needs to get up above the canopy if he's going to get any decent kind of direction.
Mhm.
So for at least the trip out, he's going to go straight up until he can get high enough to pick a point on the horizon that
Mhm.
looks like it's straight. He starts out 90 degrees to the rope, goes straight up, picks a point on the horizon, is going to fly towards that for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Roll a
And there's-
360-sided die.
And there's no horizon. So there's a reason I'm going into the mechanics of this.
Sure.
What you do matters for how
Right.
this will play out. There's no horizon. Just to remind you, once you get above the canopy, Diamondback, this may be your first time being above the canopy. I'll let you pick that for your character. However,
Yeah,
it
I've
is
never
certainly
been. I've never
Yep,
flown.
it's certainly not Inkatink's. However, here's what you notice when you get up there above the canopy. You have to break through the leaves, as it were. It's not hard. You're not getting scratched or anything particularly, but there are branches you're dodging and leaves that make up the canopy. As you go through these thick leaves for a few seconds, you burst out and you see Diamondback as Inkatink floats up maybe a good 15 feet above the canopy. Diamondback, you see rolling verdant hills. The light here is much brighter. Not much brighter. It's significantly brighter than the light underneath. You see these rolling verdant hills made of the leaves of these trees, speckled with blues and other colors mixed in. These hills you can see from being not too high above are the surfaces of the trees that have grown up and are sticking out. Most of them are approximately the same height. Far, far above you, you see another canopy. It is indistinct greens and yellows and different shimmering colors like that. In various parts of the distance, you see maybe shapes that could be hills or something. They're nothing very distinct. It's far away and they look hazy. Your knowledge of the world, Diamondback, would let you know that you would guess that these are the great trees.
Right.
That may be a day or more distance travel from you. It's very difficult to see them, if at all. So,
Looking
you are
90
now-
degrees to my left, do I see anything that it would seem that I had been traveling towards that might be visible from this height?
You see no meaningful distinctions in the
Okay.
quote unquote geography, I guess arbography of the parts around you. However, you have risen, as far as you can tell, straight upwards. You're keeping the stick pointed. You're keeping the stick pointed at a 90-degree angle to the force that you were feeling. What do you do? You both of you.
What
do you
I
do
want
together?
is for Inkatink to fly directly in straight in 90 degrees, and then after 4 minutes and 30 seconds, touch down, and then I point the stick, and then he looks from above, and I want to see if I notice any difference between where the stick is pointing and 90 degrees.
Okay.
If I were to
And-
take a 90-degree measurement exactly, that would mean that it was infinitely far away, because there would be parallel lines that never meet.
Mhm.
So because it's 1 point, there should be some difference. And what I would like is to know how big that difference is, which will tell me how tall the triangle is that we have just
I
described the
understand.
base of.
Yeah, I definitely understand your intent, but I'm asking about your actions.
Right.
So you get above there, and what do you do with the stick? Just tell me what you do with the stick as Inkatink lifts you up and you begin to fly.
I don't do anything as we're flying. Inkatink is supposed to just be flying in a straight line for a certain distance and then set me down.
Okay, and is he following where the stick is pointing, or do you
No,
drop
he's
the stick?
going in a
or-
straight line.
Okay, so you don't use the stick at all.
I'm just holding it.
Okay, down at your side or whatever.
I think Inkatink like squeezes him with his claws and taps him on the head and points outwards.
Okay, and then starts
But
flying.
Diamondback doesn't do anything.
Well, so I mean, I can hold out the stick pointing in the direction that I feel the thing, the tug.
Right. And so the question is, are you pointing it significantly like back over your shoulder instead of
Right.
You see
So
what
I'm
I
holding
mean?
it in my left hand and pointing in the direction I feel the tug with my eyes closed. As he flies, do I feel my arm moving backwards?
right? That's the question. I thought that we had communicated that very clearly, but maybe we didn't.
Well, I wanted to land and then
Sure.
try and get the angle.
Okay.
Great. The fact that y'all are having the discussion about landing and okay, that sounds good, is an indicator that y'all needed to collaborate. I'm hearing that collaboration so that I can understand what y'all are doing. That's a good thing. Okay, great. Here's what I want you to do. Inkatink, please give me let's call it an intelligence check on a DC 10 for 5 minutes.
14.
All
I
right.
was afraid I had blown all my good luck.
So you go for several minutes, and when you feel like it's probably about time, you land, you descend through the canopy. Tell me about that. You narrate the descent.
Yeah, I think Inkatink is once he hits about the 4-minute mark, he starts looking for some kind of opening in the canopy because he'd rather not just go down through the canopy because it's possible that they're stuff. So he's looking for an opening as he can get within a minute.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's what I was wondering about. If you had not said anything about caution, I would have landed you without caution.
Yes. No, this is not. This is like Inkatink. He's like the clown at his second rodeo. It's not his first rodeo. So
there you go.
Second.
So yeah, Inkatink, you are able to make your way through the branches. When you get close enough to the trees, of course, it's not actually a firm shell at any point. It's, they're branches and you can kind of weave your way down. You don't see any particular danger, but you're able to land on the ground. You do so, and Diamondback, tell me what's going on.
He sets me down facing. Do I think that he set me down straight, or do I think that he has changed the angle at all?
Roll my survival check.
yeah, as much as I can, I kind of drop him and keep going in what as straight of a line as I can, and try to create a straight line between us.
I'm going to
11.
survival check DC 10. What was it?
11.
Okay. You're pretty sure that he probably was going in a straight line.
Okay. I hold out my arm, or I sense what direction is the direction of the pull that I feel.
You definitely have a sensation that you're reaching your arm past the sort of 90-degree lateral to your direction you're facing. It feels
Good.
as though you have moved.
I hold the stick
Very
out.
hard to say.
I hold the stick out in exactly that direction, and I wave to Inkatink to observe the angle from above.
He can get a little bit above, but the canopy will block him if he goes very high.
Right, I won't be able to see through the canopy, but yeah, I'll go. I'll look at where he is in that straight line to him, and kind of come back over, find his angle, and try to fly up and just get a sense.
Okay. You don't see anything distinctive. There are trees and, there's occasional irregularities in it, but they're just tree irregularities. You're not seeing any big or anything like that.
Okay, so now I have an idea of how far the 90-degree angle if it was infinitely far away, and then how much I have to move my arm standing here to point towards the thing.
Yeah.
And I make a mental note of the distance, how far I have to move my arm, having my arm extended fully out. Do I have to move it an inch? Do I have to move it a foot? Do I have to move it 45 whole degrees? I make a mental note of exactly that, and then I have Inkatink fly me back to where I was.
That sounds good. And as you are ascending, you feel the pressure rapidly fading from you. It doesn't just drop off in an instant, but there certainly is a marked decrease as you begin flying. Roll me, please, both of you, a survival check. This is
10.
sorry.
Oh,
and
no,
before
wait. I get to add something to that, I think. Maybe
Hold
not.
on. Roll me a survival check with a DC 16. This is how well you're able to find your direction back.
12.
Okay,
10.
that's a good point. I like that you're able to. Okay, you fly back for that's a good point. Yeah, you fly back. And for what you believe to be the rightish amount of time, there are no marks or anything in the treetops from where you left, so you don't have a specific point to go back to. But you descend into the forest. You don't see your friends around, but you're pretty sure you should be nearby. Give me 1 second. Okay. And
I send my flying snake to find them and to show me the direction.
So your flying snake can travel how far from you? I think it's 60 feet, right?
Let's see.
Sorry, 60 feet that you can interact with it in any way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It can go any distance from me.
Mm-hmm.
But I can only give it new commands within a certain narrow circumference radius of me.
Yeah.
60 feet of me.
Yeah, that's the distance at which you can sense each other, I believe, as like knowing kind of it's there, and it knowing where you are. Do you want to send it in a particular direction, or just tell it
We've
to go
landed,
around?
right?
You have landed. You don't see any of the party anywhere near you. I mean, like when I say anywhere near, just when you look around the forest, you don't see them.
But can they hear Yoshka talking?
I don't call out at first.
Okay.
First, I have my snake do like I don't know, a 300-foot circle.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it is able to know the difference between people and find people. I've sent it to bite people before, specific people.
Sure.
So it knows these people, and presumably if it flying in a big 300-foot circle, it can see further than I can. And as usual, its instructions include, if you feel threatened, come straight back to me.
So it does its best to follow your instructions. The complexity is a little more than go bite somebody. But it is gone for a couple minutes and returns to you without seeming to indicate anything like a direction that you should go. Let's take a break from you guys for a moment. Neno, Yoshka, Toll, Talid, and Belvari. They've been gone for about 10, 15 minutes. Where are they? What do you do? What do you say?
Belvari has remained vigilant.
In looking for
Danger.
Yep.
Talid is going to, I don't know if there's any time, but he's going to start like messing around with snake tons that he got. The grim.
Yeah.
What was it again?
Grim
You know,
backed snake.
he got
Boa
yeah.
constrictor.
Yeah, he got 2, so he's just gonna take one and start filling around, see what it does.
Okay. So the way you do that is you kind of break it apart, you chew on it. Great.
Yeah.
What about the rest of you?
Does Toll have time to do that too?
Yeah, you can pick a component.
Going to pick a leaf from a bitter leaf larch.
Okay. While y'all do that, and what Talad and sorry, Neno and Yoshiko, why don't y'all tell me what's going on, or talk to each other, or whatever?
At like minute 8, Nano started looking in the nearby vicinity, not going outside of these guys, but looking for a place that we could bunk down if we needed to, because she's not about to head toward. From men, there's no reason to walk until the rest of our party returns. We don't know where we're going without the snake boy anyway. We might as well just wait here until they come back. I'm going to find us a place to sleep. And then she stomps off in some random direction, looking for some anything, but looking back over her shoulder to make sure these guys are still in sight.
Sorry, do you actually mean a random direction?
I actually do, like anywhere nearby. Like her intention is that she's going to. Well, that's not very random. But yeah, her intention is to find somewhere that when they come back to where the rope is laid out, they will be able to.
Okay.
We'll be here.
We'll get
Even
that.
if we have to stay here overnight.
Okay, I'll have you roll for that in a second. But Yoshiko, what are you going to be doing?
I like minute 1. Yoshiko's like, okay, so if we are surrounded by the dead, what will we do? Tell me about this magic of protecting from the dead. Should you hand it out, or can you put it on all of us?
Let's see, and she rummages in her.
Toll's gonna mention.
Talad.
Talad is gonna mention. Well, if they're dead, what can they do? Like fall on us?
It sounded like the dead walked about.
Everyone else in the party freezes and slowly turns and stares at him.
like gold.
He doesn't
So-
know gold.
Oh, I forget.
He's never been outside of his cave.
I will sing you the song tonight.
Well, Talad is just gonna squint his eyes and be like, "Okay, okay."
I
So
hated him.
We sort that out, and then minute like 4 or 5.
And I clarify that I have enough for 4 people. So any 4 of us could be protected against the undead.
But it's a concentration spell, so you should probably hand it out because you can only cast it like once.
Okay, I believe you. Sorry, I'm skimming as quickly as I can.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm happy to pass it out. There are 5 of us here.
I don't need one. I actually have one.
Okay, yeah. Then I would give it to those of us who are here, and in anticipation that the other 2 may not get back in time, but in the meantime, we're protected.
Patrick, do you have a good way to look that spell up and understand it?
Protection from evil and good, or another one?
Yeah.
Until the spell ends, one willing creature you touch is protected against types of creatures, including apparitions, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. Protection grants several benefits. Creatures of these type have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target. The target also can't be charmed, frightened, or possessed by them. If the target is already charmed, frightened, or possessed, the target has advantage on any new saving throw against the relevant effect.
So if this is going to last all night, I mean, we don't really know how long to go on for, do we?
It only lasts 10 minutes.
Last 10 minutes, I'm worried about whatever undead are going to come longer than that.
Yeah, I think you'd kind of cast it at the beginning of combat.
and we won't be
Okay.
able to cast any other magic. So it is just one way to, if we are surrounded, perhaps run away.
Concentration, I can cast instant spells, right?
Yeah. Just can't do any other concentration.
Yeah, any other concentration spell will break any existing concentration spell.
Okay.
Talid, you notice that this thing you're chewing, as they discussed, you're kind of tasting and feeling and grokking, has a level 1 spell of Unseen Servant
That's pretty nice.
and level 3 Grasping Vine.
That's also pretty
You have
nice.
1 left because you used 1, right?
Yeah.
And I put it into your component pouch for you.
Thank you.
And also, Pat, will you tell me which one you were looking at again? Remind me.
Was a leaf of a bitter leaf larch.
Okay. I think I'll have to get out of this guy.
Just a few other minutes while we're waiting. Yoshka says things like, "We need to find something about this Geratone. Most likely he wants to kill us so we can be part of his dead army, but if he does not, he will perhaps want to know about his neighbors and the plans of I wish I knew what the plans were."
Toll, you, as Yoshka is saying that, you discover that this leaf that you're chewing on has acid arrow. Level 2 acid arrow.
Ouch.
Yeah,
That's actually a really good one because I have other components for that.
nice. So as you are and Neno is starting to look around for things, the birds that are overhead, there's not very many, but you'll recall that Belvari had hired, let's say, one of the birds in exchange for what they call flesh, right? The meat rations. Seeing that Belvari was willing to give out some of this for his instructions. His instructions were, if you see any people or groups of people around, let us know. Seeing that, so a couple of the other birds were also hanging around in hopes that they could participate.
Mm-hmm.
You hear this, above you, you hear the fluttering of their wings. You've been hearing them kind of very occasionally, just making a little noise or something. They flutter their wings and kind of fly off, not urgently, in a direction for a few moments. But then they return. And you hear them from a little bit of a distance, not too far. And it's roughly the same distance that the same direction that the rope is pointing. It's not exactly, it's like off by a little bit, but you hear them returning with a bit more noise than usual. They don't sound alarmed. It's more of a caw, caw, kind of sounding as though almost chattering to each other or something. We'll pause on that for a moment. Diamondback and Inkatink. I'm going to just rely on on Matt and Josh not to color what I'm about to say with their knowledge of what I just said. You hear in the distance some birds cawing. It's one of the first animal sounds you've heard in a while.
Well, to be fair, then, we should probably make something like history checks to see if we connect the birds that Yoshka was talking to with the birds that we hear now.
You know what?
I don't think Inkatink needs to do that because Inkatink was sitting there and trying to mimic back the things that the Corvids were saying. He was trying to see if he could grok their speech just by imitation and translation. So I think he would probably have an association with them right away.
what I think I'll do is I'd like for you to each give me a wisdom check.
Okay.
On a actually, you know what? Let's do a wisdom and survival and average them for me.
Okay.
Each of you.
Okay. 15.
19.
Okay. And by
That
the way,
was
just
an
to let our-
18 and a dirty 20.
Okay. And just to let our audience know, survival is a wisdom check. So what we're doing here is I was giving them basically I was modifying the survival check a little bit. They're weakening their bonus, as it were. With that though, you have a good sense that those are, that you haven't been hearing other stuff. It sounds like they're near enough that they're probably just off your mark. You're guessing you've got a maybe 10, 15 minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sir Robert. I actually read it slightly wrong. It should be 18. I was looking at my saving throws for wisdom instead of my actual modifier.
Okay, no worries. That's still ballpark same. And you got your 20, as you said. So, but you would guess that from the direction you heard this faint, you got maybe a 10-minute, maybe a 15-minute walk or a 10-minute jog to kind of find your way there. They may not be that far actually, but you're going to have to try to find the direction. And if they stop cawing, you have to look around a little bit. What do you want to do?
Jog that direction.
Okay. I'm going to roll a Inkatink, same for you.
Be done flying.
True to form, Diamondback is acting, and everybody else is keeping up.
Okay. And Inkatink, are you also going with him, jogging with him?
Yes.
Okay. You go and you don't. I was rolling to see if you had any kind of encounter on the way there. You don't. You cover quick ground, but there's no real incident. You two arrive.
Here, I've one quick question. This is when we heard the birds and set off. I had some idea of which direction I was facing on the point of the triangle, on the base of the triangle, and the direction of the birds would reveal how far off we had strayed.
Okay.
In our geometric figure, I would like to modify in my mind my mental geometry on that basis, if I could.
Yeah, no problem.
And I would love to roll an intelligence check for it with advantage.
You'll definitely be rolling intelligence checks. Let's see what kind of advantage you have. You make your quick jog. It does take you, 10-ish minutes. Remember, we're using Roman style measurements of time, which is where you roughly intuit what a minute is. Takes you about, is it out of battery? Jacob, will you go grab your power card? So you take your 10 minutes. You guys, you see Diamondback and Inkatink running towards you from a little bit a little bit back from where you had already come. The direction you were expecting them, but not like straight from that direction, rather a little bit south of you from there. So they were a little off course, a little off track, but not terrible. They were able to find you. They are about 15 minutes late. Neno has
expected him to take 10 minutes in there.
That's right. So it's been half an hour here, ballpark, where the rope is. Neno, we'll plug it over here. Neno, you were concerned, I think, within minutes, right? They've been half an hour, but they are arriving with seemingly unscathed. You get the sense that whether or not you agree, they at least believe, or Diamondback at least, maybe also Inkatink, believes that the errand was important. So here's what happens. You arrive, and these birds are kind of circling, cawing a bit above you.
If any of them come over to me, I'll give them a reward, but I won't like beckon them for the reward.
Yeah. And what actually happens? That sounds good. What actually
I'm
happens?
sorry, I couldn't hear Dwight there.
I said, if any of them come over to me, I will give them a reward, but I won't beckon them over for
Oh.
it.
Thank you.
All three birds. Well, first, one crow comes down and alights in front of Belvari. The other two follow that bird, clearly trying to be involved.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Can I tell which one was the one I talked to?
roll me a.
Animal handling.
Yeah, I'll call it an animal handling.
Nice. +5, baby.
Ooh.
How's a 20? Dirty.
You can. You're very confident that the one that landed first is the one you talked to, and you can pick out that one of them's a raven.
Gotcha.
Two crows and a raven, but the one you're pretty sure about the one. It lights down in front of you and it caws, caw, caw. And one of the things you have found out about these crows already is that even without talking to, what is it called? Speak with animals. Even without using that, they have some phrases that they can pick up. And in your prior conversation, they've said, you said to them like the people. Here's what they say. The raven in front actually is the one that says it. The others are kind of making some fluttery noises, and they're on the ground, not up above you. They've kind of come and are talking to you, and they are fluttering around. The one in front says, "Ah, come see the murder. The people give flesh.
I toss him a piece of meat.
And he grabs it, catches it before it hits the ground. And just to give you a sense of what I'm thinking, I'm picturing these bits of ration to be kind of twisted up, dried, jerky style of meat. So think a Slim Jim or something.
Probably elk jerky.
Yeah. So
Elk Slim Jim.
these guys,
Like 8-foot lengths too.
that's right.
Doubles as rope.
Lariats, really. These creatures. By the way, that was an allusion to some prior stuff in the game for Pat and Jacob. These guys. The crow catches one end of this stick of meat.
I was like gonna tear off a little bit.
Oh, how much is a little bit?
Like finger,
Okay.
index finger pointer.
Sounds good. You tear off about a knuckle of a finger's worth, and toss it to him, and he gulps it down before it hits the ground and continues. And some of the other and the two other birds start copying him. Give flash, as does he.
I ignore the other two.
Okay, but that's what you've heard them say. They seem to be telling you that perhaps there are people nearby.
You want to go check this out?
Diamondback at this. Sorry, real quickly. Diamondback at this point, your the effect has completely faded.
I would like to attempt to discern, on the basis of our information gathering adventure that we just had,
Mhm.
how far ahead of us this our destination is.
And here's where we're going to roll some intelligence checks. Are you ready?
Ready.
First, I need from you a crucial piece of information. How long are you focused trying to figure this out? Do you want to sit down, draw some pictures in the dirt at that level? Or are you trying to, in the midst of this, the bird saying this thing, Bavar is interested in moving forward, or are you interested in kind of intuiting right now, and maybe you'll think more about it when you rest for the night if it's that far away, or what? Tell me.
I
What
definitely intend to sit down and take as long as it takes.
Okay.
Like up to an hour.
Right
I'm
now.
drawing pictures in the dirt. I'm conferring with. I'm gesturing to Inkatink. I'm the base of the triangle that I draw in the dirt. I gesture to him, and
Okay. Yeah, all that stuff.
All that stuff. Everything I can do to try and get an accurate picture of just where it is.
Sounds good. And you're a minute or two into that when Belvari says, having talked to these crows,
Hey, do y'all want to go check out this murder of people?
That sounds good. Can you turn into something sly and go ahead?
I could. Yeah.
it's in your staff, right?
Got the ability because I'm a druid.
Not until you have your focus.
Oh, what are the things that we can cast with any components if we have them?
That's a good question. I have not completely nailed that down yet. Racial type abilities that are innate to you but are magical.
But also, if you have animal components,
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry.
4 times the challenge rating, you can.
I misunderstood. Yeah, that's right. I forgot how the druid worked for a moment. Toll, if you have animal components, you need 4 times the challenge rating of the creature to become that creature. So if it's a challenge rating 1/2, you need 2 components of, say, any fox to become a fox. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. How long does that last? Is that casting wild shape, or is that some different thing?
Yeah, it's basically how wild shape works for you
Okay.
without a focus.
I say to Belvari, can we wait for half an hour for trying to do these calculations before I forget?
I mean, these crows are probably gonna make a lot of noise.
Half an hour? What do you need to do?
Or I say, quiet, I'm thinking. And I continue. Because I'm trying to not get distracted and forget and like lose track of my calculations.
Speak up and say, I can speak with plants using this staff. Should we perhaps get a second opinion on if we need to be ready for battle?
That sounds good to me.
The crows don't seem alarmed if it means anything.
Well, something that isn't dangerous to crows is dangerous to people.
True.
Can I just recollect some context our characters probably would have done? As we've been traveling, have we noticed any sorts of wildlife here, like birds or bugs or?
The Inkatink got a few larches that were in the trees, a couple of dead animals that y'all have found. They're clearly have.
Larches are trees.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean larch. I meant
the
Leeches?
the
birds that he got. I forgot what kind they were.
So it's like roughly on par with the amount of ant. Yoshika's wondering.
Finches.
Long night also. Because that would mean something about someone who can raise the dead. He would have a lot of dead just laying there that he could raise. So Yoshika's trying to get a sense of, does it feel like there are more animals this side of the river or less than before we got to the Oregon?
I think the general idea has been there's a lot less.
There are fewer animals. However, you are perceiving that there are fewer animals, but your intuition is not telling you that it is just unusually devoid of animals. It's that this forest is just a little different than the one you're used to.
And have we been seeing a lot of animal corpses like we did on those peaceful weeks?
Not a lot, but the first couple of peaceful weeks you saw them and they were decayed and everything, and then there weren't very many more. But you are seeing. Your intuition is that some of the stuff you've seen was killed maybe last night. Maybe it's possible there are some animals in their dens or something. Maybe they're not roaming around. Or also, you travel through a forest, and people traveling through a forest in general don't just see a bunch of animals. That was an interesting characteristic of your native forest where you guys are from. Sorry, your characters would not know that people traveling through a forest don't see a lot of animals. In your forest, there are a lot of animals. I'm telling you, players, there's a kind of Duke Forest level of occasional, maybe you saw a deer or a snake or something like that. It's not all over the place.
So that means that this must be Iron Bell territory because we're not towards the beast end of things.
Everybody roll me oh, sorry, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Everybody roll me a history check.
Diamondback is not rolling this history check because he's currently doing geometry in the dirt.
Okay.
Ink Tink got a 19.
And Diamondback, roll me a what'd you get?
I've never been out, and I got a natural one, so
Yeah.
it's fitting.
Okay.
But I've
Toll got a nat one.
Toll got a natural one too.
Nice.
Diamondback, also, I'd like for you to roll me an intelligence check. There's no target for it. Ooh, is that a natural?
Yep.
There's no target for your intelligence check. It's going to tell me how it's going to give me how fuzzy the indicator is for you.
Do
Okay,
do you have any like bard who wants to give me inspiration on this?
I think he's
Nothing
trying
like
to think
that?
through his history and have a different conversation at the moment.
Yeah,
I'll
you
also
also
take
just told him to
inspiration.
hush.
Like,
Okay,
Fair
so
enough.
yeah,
Diamondback.
Sorry, real quickly. Yoshika starts to sing a song, but Diamondback says, "Hush."
No, he would. That I would say, I will sing you a song if you first sing me a song of your people.
Diamondback would agree to do so.
Hold on one sec.
Remember how you're trying to concentrate on geometry?
It's sort of a yes, whatever, just do it.
Neno, you notice as you're roll 20, you remember that Simdaran was referred to several times throughout your encounter with those Oravan, those blasphemers, as cultivating and tending and managing the beasts of the forest. Inkatink also, once Neno says that, Inkatink remembers that and is able to repeat to all of you some of the phrases that you heard from townsfolk about blessed be Simdaran for various things, including the animal stuff. That can inform your characters' decisions about what you think, the kinds of picture you're making about what this kind of forest is versus that kind of forest. Diamondback, roll me your intelligence. Oh, sorry. Do your sing-songs if you want.
No, I'll just do one for him, and he can do it for me tonight because
Okay.
he's doing study.
Okay.
So I'll use up my inspiration.
Sing your song.
It gives you 1d6.
Oh, I get a D6. I love that. Okay. Thank
All right,
you.
roll it for
Thank you,
me.
Yoshika.
Sorry, wait. Neno first.
If that conversation about this must be Bell territory was conversation that the characters had, Neno chimes up, can't be the Bell territory because call the bell, they save us, they bring the light. Just quoting something from last week.
Hmm.
And Inkatink will be able to repeat for you in the voice of the crows. Actually, you translated that, right?
No, I thought they were just saying.
That was just something they said. They were mimicking the crows were. Inkatink, as the crows did, mimic that. Call the bell, they save us. Bringers of the light, whatever the particular thing was. Diamondback, I know I'm interweaving these for a moment, but Diamondback, roll me your intelligence check with whatever bonuses you like, as far
I want to
as
hear the song.
legit bonus.
Not great. 14.
Okay. You have a good sense, you believe. You don't feel like super unsure, but you also not like 100% positive. But you think you got this pretty good, pretty right. you think you got a pretty good assessment of this, and you're guessing maybe a day's travel in the direction that you're trying to go, ballpark. So if you travel nonstop in that direction right now, through the night, you might get there noonish tomorrow. You're guessing. You're guessing. That's your best educated guess, having done your arithmomancy.
Okay.
All right. Now, the crows repeat again, and they have been saying occasionally, come see the murder, the people. Give flesh, give flesh.
Well,
See the murder. The people give flesh, give flesh.
while he's doing that, his study, can I go ahead and cast Speak with Plants on whatever the biggest looking tree is, presuming that
Sure.
biggest means oldest means wisest?
Okay, go
That's
for
a
it.
great idea.
Do that. Let's hear it.
All right.
So Robert,
so
keep in mind there's in-world precedence that at least some plants in the world sound like they're from South Florida. So do what you will with that.
That's true.
Hey, man.
That's canon.
That is canon. Toll. So you crush these components into your hand, having picked a tree that you believe is probably your best bet for
Reliable.
getting good information. Been around, seen some stuff, and you cast this. And what happens here? I haven't described this in a while, but Toll, you kind of crush them in your palms, and as you pull your palms apart, black wisps come out of your hands, pulling with them from the forest floor some additional black wisps that wind their way the 2 or 3 feet from your hands to the skin, the bark of the tree before you. The tree sort of groans and kind of blows in the wind, though there isn't much wind. And you hear a creaking and a groaning, all the rest of you. And Toll, you hear, yes.
Hello. I could ask you some questions about the inhabitants of these woods.
Perhaps you could ask? Ben?
I was asking permission to ask. I'm trying to be respectful.
Indeed, you were trying, but you didn't ask it anything or say anything that required a response. You just told it you were hoping to ask it something.
Toll will say, may I ask you some questions about the inhabitants of these woods?
Yes.
We have heard from some birds that there are humans in these woods. Do you know anything about their allegiances?
Yes.
What can you tell me about their allegiances?
And remember, the rest of you are hearing this as the groaning of the trees, of this tree, as it kind of sways in the wind. It has no vocal cords, it has nothing else but the creaking of the wood and the groaning as it kind of bends and flexes. Toll seems to be interpreting these as though they mean something. The rest of you seem to be interpreting Toll as though he means something.
Yeah, and as I'm doing this, I'll translate for them.
Okay. The people survive or not.
How is it they survive?
Some with the parts of the plants, some with the parts of the animals, some with the strength of their branches, and some with the help of the others.
When you say others, do you mean the Iron Bell?
Who are they?
Ask him if the dead come out at night. Ask him what comes out at night.
Do undead come out at night or any other time?
What are they?
Imagine if a chopped down tree was an animal like me. Do those things ever get back up like they were never cut down?
Oh, yes.
Who did that? Toll. She elbows him. Ask the tree who the people survive against or not.
Who do the people in these woods survive against?
The animals, the people, the animals that stink, and the people that stink.
Why do they stink?
I do not know, but they stink. Rotten fruit.
Are there more at night or in the day?
And Toll translates, of course.
Yep.
Oh, the ones in the day are the ones who take down the trees. The ones at the night are the ones that take down the ones that take down the trees.
We need to find shelter tonight.
We need to find shelter in the trees tonight. The birds live. Not very many ground creatures appear to be around here.
I'll ask it one final question, unless somebody else wants me to ask something else. Who rules these woods?
Well, I'd say, of course,
What do the great trees tell you?
I have not seen a great tree, but I know a tree who knows a tree who knows a tree who knows a tree. And he continues on for approximately 30 seconds. Who speaks with a great tree.
What does the great tree speak of?
The whole.
Is it close?
The tree. I know a tree. Who knows a tree? Who knows a tree? And he goes, so it is that many trees away.
I mean, you can tell us
This
where
sounds
every
like our
area is.
dream.
Quick,
I am-
Diamondback, get out a pencil and a piece of paper and see if you can do some math about that.
That's where the tree is. The great tree. How far away is it?
Yeah.
Do the men, do they seek the hole?
I do not know. I have not seen them seek the hole.
I want to get to that hole. Where? How can we ask him where? A tree would not know the direction. Do you remember our dream when we saw the great trees part with the great fireflies?
Well,
Our dream? What is it? Multi-person dream thing you're talking about?
Wasn't Belvari there for that?
He has had some dreams.
I've had some dreams.
The first one. We saw fireflies.
Dream?
Didn't you ever have a dream about fireflies?
So real quickly, is this a conversation y'all want to have right in person, in character right now? I'm okay with it. I just want to understand what we're doing and what Toll's doing with the tree.
Yeah. I guess
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Toll gonna say there might be a solution for us to have a place to stay tonight and be able to find that. I can awaken this tree with my staff, but it will take some time. 8 hours.
And
Oh.
in 8 hours, it will be 2 hours into dark, maybe 3.
What does an awakened tree do?
Walks around.
It's also friendly to me, so I could tell it. Presumably, I could tell it to put us up in its branches, and we could just hide out for the night, or at least as much of the night as we have left.
And there are some people nearby.
Yeah, guys, I think we're barking up the wrong tree. He doesn't seem very believable, and I don't think he's going to help us get to the root of the matter.
Oh,
Lovely.
Boo.
where's that? Do this. Do the sound effects.
Oh, there's a sound effect.
Can't
Um,
upstream do that?
I don't have a sad trombone sound effect, but I can do.
Yet.
Oh man, this is an opportunity to talk to trees. What would they know? Great tree. Did you have a long night recently?
And real quickly, I'm just going to look to see. This is speak with. What is it? Speak with plants.
Yeah. 10 minutes.
Is it 10 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we're right at the tree. Toll, you ask the tree some questions, and it
Does
Sorry.
a tight 5.
That's right. Toll, you ask the tree about a long night, and it says, "Well," and that groan starts turning into the bending and creaking of the tree wood, and then it stops.
While all that was going on, Belvari turned into a tiger and went to see what he could see. Because that was
10 minutes.
a lot
Um,
of talking.
Okay, so Belvari, you are a tiger. Are you going up full force,
Nope.
paws blazing, or are
Nope,
you
sneaking?
okay? Stealth wise,
Yeah.
roll me a stealth check on your thing. And I think those are your stats, right?
Some stats are mine and some stats are its, but I think stealth might be mine.
Do you get keen smell when you turn into it?
I think it's physical stats are the tigers, but the mental stats are yours.
So
And you don't get any like.
And stealth is a mental stat thing. It's your ability to hide yourself.
I thought it was dex.
Well, okay, then
It's
I'm
a
gonna-
dex check. but
Okay.
if you're willing.
I'll take dex check. Yeah, sure, if that's what that is.
+6.
LT, our resident expert, says stealth is dex. Use the tiger.
Okay. Just a second.
That seems right to me.
The Lord has spoken.
That's right.
That was a good one.
Stealth
That's
plus
right.
6. Oh, and it has a specific stealth bonus.
Great.
I understand.
Do it to it. He says he prefers to be called rules lawyer.
24.
24. All right. You approach where the crows seem to indicate, and you do definitely see structure through Tiger's eyes.
Mhm.
All right. And
Do I smell anything?
you smell people. It, as far as you can tell, these are not undead. They are people going about the business of being people. They are not outside of their small and unusual little hamlet. It's not a giant place.
Is there a wall?
It does have a wall. It has a significant wall, which I will explain to you all. If you go and explain to them, I'll tell you what you, or we can figure out if they want to go see it. I'll give you a different summary versus what you.
Yeah. So I just kind of try to loop around it.
It doesn't take you long.
Don't notice any trolls.
Nope. Not
any-
with your lion,
Yeah.
your tiger sensibilities.
Yeah.
You're seeing it in kind of black and white. It looks like you're guessing a pretty strong wall. Your physiology is a little different here in this animal form, but it looks like a taller wall than some of them you've seen. The town itself is not sprawling or anything like that. It's very small, smaller than Miradau was.
Gotcha. I'll head back and tell people. It looks like there's a town, very very strong town, not too far away. How far away was it?
It took you 10 minutes to get there, 10, 15 while they were talking to the tree.
Gotcha.
People. Oh, good.
Wait, there's a town? I couldn't hear Dwight very well.
There's a town. It's got a very tall wall.
And
It's
only
about 10 minutes away.
and isn't very big.
It's a tiny town, a hamlet, if you will.
That's actually how I describe
Well, we're likely to be safer within walls than without.
You never know.
Agreed.
You never know. It seems like something like 3/4 of the time the people inside of the town want to kill you.
Maybe we could put away writing this time.
Inkatink's head whips towards Diamondback and he glares at him.
Inkatink was not there for that.
I was
Oh,
being
but
very
Inkatink has
suave.
heard stories at this point.
Just
Even if
because
they
it didn't
won't let
work
us
didn't
stay.
mean it wasn't a great idea.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Even if they won't let us stay with them, perhaps they can give us tips to survive through the night.
Or perhaps they can give us arrows that we can keep in our chests.
Well,
Inkatink laughs like a good laugh.
is there any way we can learn about them before just knocking on their gates?
You can go sing them a song.
I'm willing to go. I am
I-
not a threatening creature.
I could go sing them a song.
That would only anger them if they didn't like us.
Well, I have some songs for those people too.
Taking out a couple of frogs
Does-
in the past.
Your father smelt of elderberries.
Now, Bird, do I know your name? What? I don't think I should call you Bird. What should I call you?
Is Yoshka talking to Inkatink?
Yeah, can you hear?
Yeah,
Anybody-
yeah. You said bird and stuff. He looks at you and you see him kind of noodling something over in his head. And in the voice of a little old halfling lady, you hear him say, Inkatink.
Inkatink. Ah, very good. Inkatink, can you Well, they might see you if you fly, eh?
I'm
Let's
done.
go.
I've hung up my spurs for the day there, Chief.
Let's talk as we go. I want to maybe we can hear them before we get to the gates. And then I'll motion for us to proceed.
So, are you all going to follow?
I will go along, but as we go, I'll say to Yoshka, I don't want to get waylaid in this town. Towns seem to be a real problem for us sometimes. I'll stay quiet and lay low, but I do want to continue on towards this focus.
Yes.
So, with Belvari in the lead because he knows the way, and Yoshka following, keeping step with Belvari, you travel for about 15 minutes. It's a little slower as a set of humans, 15, 20 minutes. But even from a distance, you can actually see in the woods the form of the thing you're going towards. It is not, in one sense, it's not imposing. It's clearly not a large or anything like that. It is a tiny, tiny hamlet, or maybe fortress. It has, you would guess, at most 5, maybe 6 huts, although you can't tell for sure through the defensive wall.
Bovari stays a good distance back. Points over.
So where you are, you'd be about 100 feet away. You can make out no meaningful detail about it, except that the wall has what looks like white and brown color on it, and is unusually tall for the walls that you're used to. Not like ominously tall, exactly. I'm just saying it's not squat or anything like that. They're higher.
Well, any ideas before I walk up to the gate?
I'm going to say, yes. What word are you going to say if you want me to blast whoever you're talking with magic missiles right in the face?
Very good. How about altercation?
Excellent. So I'm going to stand one magic missile distance behind and a little bit to the side of Yoshka.
The range of magic missile is sight, so you could technically stand like 10,000 feet away. As long as you can see the person, then you're good.
No, it's got a distance. Or maybe it doesn't.
Inkatink,
I don't know.
Inkatink snaps his fingers and pulls out a bundle of 7 of those little flute things that he handed one to Talad already, and he starts passing them out, and he pantomimes blowing on it in a moment of duress. So everybody's got something that they can use to blow.
Nice. But if Yoshka, I say, everybody get ready with some sort of, we want to be able to fight at a moment's notice. If Yoshka says the word, right then.
To like do before initiative or something, or like would readying a spell give us any?
Probably not. You'd probably, I don't know. It's up to the DM, I guess. Sorry.
I will let you ready an action, and we'll still roll initiative if the action is appropriate for this. We'll still roll initiative, but I'll let you have your turn first if that's appropriate for the action you're readying and the response you're reacting to. I mean,
Inkatink takes out 2 bundles of fine steed and hands one to Nino and one to Orvin Raftalad.
Talon says thank you and takes it. He's also going to get out his flute just in case he needs to blow on it.
Fine steed?
Yep.
Find a mount.
It'll summon something for you to ride.
Fine steed. Got it.
Okay.
It'll be big, beefy, fast. get you out of there.
So
Nano wasn't thinking about fighting at all. She was about to chime up. We should prepare what we're willing to sacrifice. They may need to be paid for their hospitality to us tonight.
That's what I was thinking. I will come with a gift in my hands and maybe some magics in my feet. And I'll cast Expeditious Retreat on myself.
and Nano, are you gonna go? Are you volunteering? Is that what you're saying? Okay. Yes, she says. All right.
Because
Sorry.
I'm so unscary.
Will you say yes, just so I can get it in the?
Yes, I'm willing to go. No one's afraid of an old lady.
All right. So you two, it's going to be a good 30-second walk. You'll be, you've got to walk 100 feet or so.
Roy's gonna go off to the side of them, not with them. But
Sorry, are you still a tiger?
No,
Okay.
I can't talk as a
I
tiger.
thought so. Okay, great.
I'll edge off kind of to the side and try to get within 60 feet, and I will stealth if I need to.
Roll me a stealth check.
Toll will get within 90 feet and ready an acid arrow in case Yoshka says the word or blows on his flute.
Okay.
This is an amazing
Don't
5.
Try to look like you're ready to shoot them.
Toll will be behind a tree unless he hears something.
Nano was prepared mending.
Okay.
So you
To
can
be
put Yoshka
helpful.
back together after he's ripped in half by the magic.
I'm not having cast Expeditious Retreat on myself. I'm just going to walk up with my walking stick.
At a normal speed.
Yeah, looking for a front gate.
Okay. So you walk up towards the front. Here is what you see. As I said, this is a tiny little hamlet. Although you were tempted to think of it as a fortress, sort of, it appears to have a thick makeshift wall, if you can call it that, of antlers and branches and bones deeply entangled. It's more like an immense ramshackle barricade encircling the huts that you can barely make out within. It towers a good 20, maybe 30 feet high with a deep curve to it. The bottom of the barricade is broad, and tangled pieces are deeply embedded in the soil and poking up everywhere, making it difficult to approach closely. The entire wall seems to be only about 60 feet wide at its narrowest point. The narrow part is the middle of the wall vertically, though it's still probably 5 or 10 feet thick at the narrowest point. The top looms out precariously, stretching a dozen or more feet past the base. Inspecting it for a few moments, you can see deeply entangled in its form antlers, branches, horns, bones. It's a tangle so desperately intertwined that it seems impossible to build on purpose. Around the crest of this looming top, you can make out what appears to be a thin path of soil and moss, perhaps a walkway? Every couple of yards, large, heavy skulls of various creatures have been secured to the top, mouths pointing upwards, a sort of macabre crenellation around the top of this strange tower. Someone standing on that walkway could crouch inside a skull and use its thick cranial plates as cover and still be able to see out through the hollow sockets that used to have eyes. One skull, larger than the rest, is centered above what looks like it's probably some kind of door, though how it can be used is completely unclear to you. You can just make out that that larger skull has a person inside, seated in a chair. He sees you and stands to his feet, still within the giant skull. You can see him in the eye. He looks at you, Yoshka, and Neno in turn, and also glances out into the forest in the direction of Belvari, taking his time. Finally, he calls out cautiously, "Listen!"
Nano freezes, puts a hand to her ear, and listens very carefully.
He seems to be expecting some response, or at least doesn't say anything for a few moments.
Bilvari quietly but clearly, is almost as if to try to only talk to him, says, "Flee."
It is unclear whether he heard you, but he looks straight at Yoshka, who's certainly the taller of the two of Neno and Yoshka. And he calls out, saying to you, he says, "Flee. Watch."
And I suppose if I heard Belvari, Yoshika would look back and motion Belvari to come up and look at Belvari expectantly, wondering if he has anything to respond to watch.
Yeah, Belvari will walk over kind of unthreateningly.
Specifically, he'll walk over.
Yeah,
All
he
right.
will make his way over, and he will
I'm asking,
whisper into Yoshka's ears, "Run." Say run.
Run!
the man in the skull seems to think for a moment. And you can tell that there have been some noises in this strange branch bone canister of a town that have all stopped, and they're looking out. Some, you can see. And the man in the large skull calls down to you, Yoshka, who just responded. What is it you want?
We want to survive the night. We seek shelter. I am a wayfarer. I can offer goods or services or news in exchange for safe shelter.
There's a little bit of chatter from inside the town, not where the guy here, just type of sounds. And he leaves the top where he is and walks, and he seems to do a full circuit around. He's not rushing, taking his time and looking out everywhere around him. When he returns to the skull, the first skull, the bigger skull,
I guess as I see him doing that, I will call.
Bilvari tells you to be quiet.
I will follow you, Belvari's lead.
and he takes his time, but it takes him maybe 2 minutes, and y'all are just waiting, I suppose, silently with Bavari's urging. And he returns, and he stands, this time not in the skull. He's standing in full sight of you. You can see him. He's a human, a man. He's on the older side. He's maybe in his, you would guess, possibly mid 40s to mid 50s. He's got not long but longish hair that has 50-50 of gray and brown. He reaches into a component pouch at his side, pulls out some components, looks down at you, and says, "You will have 10 seconds to enter. Ready?"
Okay.
And he pulls his components out.
I'm ready to run in.
Yeah, Toll is. I guess. Yeah, I don't know what Toll's gonna do. I guess he'll poke his head out and like wave at the guy and approach.
He was just about to clap his hands together. Seeing Toll, he just freezes and doesn't say anything and looks at you, Yoshiko.
I'll see.
Toll, you're about 90 feet away. You could make it in. Talid, Diamondback, and Inkatink couldn't from your distance.
I'll whisper to Yoshika to tell him how big our party is. Few words.
We came. There are more of us. Which of us may come? We have, what is it, 6? 7? 2, 3.
I mean, Diamondback was not hiding, so he can see Diamondback.
7.
Sorry, hold on. There's something rustling. Christmas wrapping, I think. Okay.
All 7 of us?
And he says, 7. And he conspicuously points and obviously is pantomiming counting. 1, 2, 3,
Come on.
4.
And I'm motioning while he's doing that.
Yeah, Inkatink steps out and walks over and kind of bows before the guy up on top of the wall.
I don't know if you caught that, but Diamondback has been visible this whole time. He didn't.
Yeah,
hide.
but y'all were standing about 100 feet away and obscured by branches and things from his position.
Yeah. So
I hope
Inkatink
you
walks
understand-
up, stands next to them, and bows.
Sure, Diamondback approaches along with Inkatink.
I hope you
Stands with the
understand.
others.
I hope-
That's going to as well. Sorry.
I hope
Is
you,
Yoshika going to say anything?
I hope you understand our caution. We are from across the river.
Shh, he says. And he claps his hands together, and a black smoke, the mist you're familiar with, comes out of his hands and seeps through the shapes of the brambly, terrible, raw thing. The bones and the antlers and the horns that are kind of shaped and colored a little differently start bending and flexing and groaning and creaking, and almost of their own sort of peel away from each other, revealing a hole about 10 feet off the ground. To get to it, you're going to have to scramble over some of the sort of spiky protrusions of limbs and things. Opening this gate, if you can call it that, did not make it easy to enter, but it did make it possible. It opens, and as soon as there's a big enough opening that you can see someone inside motioning to you, they aren't making much sound. They're just motioning to you, and you can start going in if you want.
I go in
Say
immediately.
run.
I rush in.
Talon goes too. Yeah.
Yep, Toll's running it.
Yep.
The hole grows to approximately maybe 12 feet wide. So it's big enough for at least two of you to kind of get in abreast at the same time. But it's not easy enough that you could scramble through. They do make a sort of flat-ish surface on the bottom, but the rest of it is perilous. But you manage to get in, and as the last of you is getting in those 10 seconds, everything starts folding back into its prior shape, or maybe not its prior shape. Honestly, you can't tell.
The whole close.
The hole does close. You come into the town, and no one has said anything to you yet. They are all looking at you, but you can hear the man from the big skull walking quietly around the top surface and then stepping some platforms down. You can't see this happening. Here's what you do see. There aren't huts in the town after all. It was hard to make out from outside what there were, but it was small, and you guessed 5-ish huts. A number of large black stones have been dragged into the town a long time ago and form an uneven foundation. They seem to have been here for quite a while. Rough, squared holes have been carved into them, perhaps 2 feet on a side. Big holes. Out of the dozen such holes, huge stone pylons of a different kind of stone jut out, towering high above within these walls. The large stone pillars splay outward slightly as they go up, and cross beams of wood have been wedged into them at different heights. They create a series of platforms, almost like a web of platforms going up these large stone pylons. On the various platforms, you can see a few hammocks, some hanging food or personal belongings, hanging from rough-hewn planks that are forming walls, or else just from spikes or antlers jutting out from the wall itself. The bottom layer of this town, the bottom section of this town, is very sparse. There are a couple of small holes carved out of the black stone here and there, and another black stone has been dragged to the very center, leaving deep scars in the foundation stones. Though from the wear, it must have been dragged here a long time ago. The stone itself, that black stone in the center, has been cut, Talad notices, rather unskillfully, into a rough pentagon at odd angles to the ground. It seems almost as though a sixth facet of the shape is missing. However, floating about a foot above, completing the shape, you can tell, a large white stone obelisk hangs in the air lazily above the black stone. That white stone is a tapered crystal shape with strange shapes carved all over it, looking almost like writing and almost like faces. Inside those shapes, the familiar black mist of the forest's magic seems to undulate, almost as though it were a liquid inside the white stone, splashing against strangely shaped windows. A rope dangles above the white stone, hitting it, draped on it lazily. And as your eye follows this curious floating white obelisk up further, you see it's tied to something mounted in a sturdy wooden beam above, a heavy iron bell.
I see an iron bell hanging in the center of this town.
You do.
I turn to Belvari and I say, what were those code words?
As he says that, the man that you saw up top has now wound his way through those platforms and stands before you in front of the floating white obelisk. You all are standing just in front of the entrance, and he and his, let's call them townfolk, his fellow hamlet dwellers, are behind him. At least some of them, are. It's not a large space you're in. And he says to you, hello, it's been a long time. And he looks at Belvari and says, a long time.
Belvari approaches him and carries the rest of the conversation out in a whisper. They
And
get close.
He continues. Belvari whispers something to him.
Well, I mean, anything else I'm saying would be whispered.
Okay.
Just probably say, I've never seen a gathering like this.
And he responds back to you similarly in a whisper. Shh. Don't speak loudly. And he looks around at all of you and says, so quietly, only Belvari can hear, whisper.
And then Belvari would say that I'm the only one in this group.
You're whispering to him just so he can hear.
Yeah.
So these two, let me just narrate, are standing so close to each other that their feet, the toes, are past each other's, the toes of the other person. Chests not touching, but their mouth very close to the other one's ear. They're not talking to each other, but they are, they're not like facing the other person ear.
Touching.
They're almost touching in any number of places and having a conversation that neither the group of you nor the other townsfolk can hear.
Diamondback tries to read their lips.
His beard covers his lips and you cannot. His mustaches.
Diamondback tries to read Belvari's lips.
They're facing
The lips on his back do not move at all. Sorry, I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Diamondback says to Yoshka, we are in an encampment of the Iron Bell.
Oh, Diamondback. Yoshka says, shh, and shakes his head.
Diamondback says aloud to the guy who's talking to Belvari, are you Iron Bell, sir?
Before we continue with that thread, Belvari, why don't you have a conversation with him, whatever the conversation is you would have with him.
I said, I've never seen a gathering like this. I said, I'm the only one. I guess I would say, like, are you all watching?
I'm watching intently, and I've readied an action to cast a spell if I see anything remotely threatening.
And he says, sorry, I have to. He says, we are always ready. I'm going to say it a little louder for the thing. We are always ready to run.
Well, Belvari is now satisfied. He feels safe once more. You never thought it would happen. If Diamondback might notice a relaxed,
Some stress
Belvari,
leaving his shoulders.
yeah, it's possibly slightly drops his guard if Diamondback notices, and would just say, "Can we have shelter here at least for the night?"
And do you whisper that, or do you take a step back?
Yeah, I think I'll step back.
Okay.
But still, it's not loud.
Yeah. But you're talking with him in a way that others could
Yeah.
hear if they're not being distracted themselves.
Yeah.
He says to you all, but he's really, Belvari is the point person at this moment, and he says to you, I am Krafit. I am the guard and leader of this town. And he looks back at his people and says, you may stay here the night, but to be honest, we don't have the resources to keep you much longer than that. You'll be safe here, as safe as we are.
Belvari would say, I've only experienced fear and pain from the Iron Bell. And what's going on here?
And gesture to the bell.
Yeah.
Krafit. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, Roscoe. Hey, get down, boy. Roscoe.
Sorry if my mic is really noisy. I think if I so much as move it, can pick up the rustling of my clothes.
Wow, that's a pretty intense mic. You have some food in your beard. He's going for. Sorry, Roscoe's trying to get Dwight to feed him. Okay, Roscoe, come on. Calm down.
In my mind, I keep seeing Diamondback doing the thing that Hawkeye does in the rain. He turns toward Belvari. He's like, "Don't do that." Do what? Give me hope. Don't do it.
So, Krafit, when Belvari indicates that it's successful, Krafit clearly seems to notice that Yoshka is something like in charge. You have the bearing. You're the one who came up and talked to them, and you indicated, and they came. But he also clearly seems to prefer talking to Belvari for whatever reason. He says, yes, I understand. I have run a long, long way. But how is it you don't know what the bell is for?
With my parents, we only fled from the bell. We didn't have our own bell.
He seems a little confused that you would flee from the bell and that you didn't have one.
Yeah. And I've never seen a village like this.
Yeah. You say that to him?
Yeah.
He notices you're all uncomfortable, and all of you your characters would find it strange for there to be a bell here in a town without an iron bell person. So it's very understandable that Diamondback is wanting to know that.
It's usually carried, right?
By the iron bell.
Yeah, we don't see them in villages. Villages are taken.
And Krafit says, we are not the bell, but when we ring this bell, when things are in a certain way, the bell come.
So why would you want them to come?
And he's still very puzzled by your questions are very strange to him. And he's like,
We are from, if I may,
he turns and looks at you.
we are foreigners. We have come across the river from a very different land.
Several of them whisper of the people are saying something, and he says, "Ah, which land? Which river?"
I will tell him the name that I know.
Well,
Singaron.
Okay. Yes.
Which name?
Well, I suppose Yoshika would know the name of the river that he would cross in his route, and possibly have heard of the other one. Yoshika would know what to
Don't go
say.
the river to the south.
He will
Sure.
say that. Yeah.
You say some names of rivers, and he,
we traveled north from the river.
"Oh, you come from across the Great River." "Oh, I have not been there, but I have heard that is a very different land." "Well, the bell, we ring it when the undead are too many. And then the iron bell comes and takes them away."
Garatone?
"What about him?"
Is he? We have heard his name spoken fearfully from the leader of the Iron Bell on our side of the river.
He laughs a little raspily. "Everybody speaks his name fearfully."
Is he the source of the undead?
"Who can say?"
Well, thank you for your hospitality. We will give you what we can afford. I can tell you are like us, trying to find a place and find a way. Let's help each other how we can.
He nods and doesn't say much. That seems to be characteristic of them. They generally aren't saying a whole, they're not very talkative. But he introduces a few of them. He points you towards an older human woman, and he says, "Morka, the arcanist." He indicates towards a gnome that you see. Sorry, not a gnome.
Halfling?
No. Wait, which ones are the good artificers?
Those are gnomes.
Gnomes. Okay. There's a gnome that's kind of in on the edges of things. He's not afraid or anything, but he is small and kind of fidgety. And he says, "The gnome, he's our warrior." He motions towards two of the holes that you see in the flooring. They're not very wide, 1.5 feet. And you see little shapes inside them and inside those holes. And he says, "Scarret and Skivret, don't mind them, but maybe don't talk to them. They are the halflings. They are the disassemblers. We found them half feral. They're good, but don't understand much of the ways above. They seem to be kind of in some holes." He points over. "Veradia, huntress," another human woman. Then he points to a large orc. "Obrion, big game hunter." He points to a demi-halfling, a woman. "Fendra, she keeps the town." And then finally he points to another man, but he points upwards, not looking at where he's pointing, onto one of the platforms, just by guessing where the guy is. It's another human man, and he says, "Lambro, hunter." And he seems to be waiting for an introduction as well from Belvari.
I'm Belvari. I am a hunter.
You're going to introduce everybody or just yourself?
Yeah,
Either way.
I'll introduce some people, if I can think of their names. Yoshka sings songs. This guy over here is a stone carver.
Talad.
Talad. He's from south of the river. I guess most of us are. What's her name is
Neno.
a weaver. Neno is a weaver. Toll is a hunter, also big game. This bird over here is I don't know. He could disassemble, possibly assemble. And then the guy that's on fire is
He's not on fire anymore.
I stop him before he says anything. I say, Arcanist.
I was gonna say that. Gosh, I say in character is an
But
arcanist.
also, Diamondback got a shirt. As soon as these things started to calm down and he started to like look around and introductions started, he sort of like tapped on Yoshka's shoulder and was like, "Can I get a shirt, bro?" And he's tried to cover up his snake tattoos.
Don't mind the snakes.
And Morka walks over to Diamondback.
I'll quickly take off my vest and give it to him.
Okay.
So covering none of the tattoos.
No, they're down his back.
Oh, they're on my back.
Arms
Yeah.
Morka walks over to Diamondback, and on the way, I mean, all of you, but she walks towards Diamondback specifically, but crushes some components into her hands and makes a sort of flourishing circle with her hands in front of her, creating a sort of misty disc. It looks familiar to you. This isn't the only way to do it, but some people do detect magic this way and kind of look through this as like a lens. And she inspects all of you very briefly, just kind of glancing over you, walks up to Diamondback, and
So she notices I have Expeditious Retreat cast on myself.
she makes notes of, she's you get the impression she's an older lady, also probably in her mid 40s to 50s, maybe a little older even, but you get the impression she's not missing much. But she walks over to Diamondback. She is not as tall as you. She puts a thumb right on your forehead and presses on it and says, Garaton or Braca?
Matthew doesn't know the answer to this question, and Diamondback, I believe, has already done a history check to see if I know Garaton, but can I see if I know Braca?
Roll me a history check, yeah.
Here goes. That's a natural 20, and my history is +5.
All right. We're going to end after this, but just to let you know. So when she puts her thumb on your head, she does not remove it. She waits for your answer with her thumb on your head. You remember from the morgue sort of place in Oravan that when you went in, you were asked a similar question by the person working there. He asked you, Garaton or maybe Braca? You told him at the time that you didn't know what either of those meant, and he said that both of those were something like, your impression was he was saying, well, there's Simdaran of the beasts, but of the undead, it is Garaton and Braca. But I figure you must be from Garaton. He's so much closer. Your best guess is she's asking you, she's acknowledging clearly you work with undeath. Are you a follower of Garaton or of Braca?
Am I a follower of Braca? Do I know that word?
You know it. The only other time you have heard it is the morgue guy in Oravan.
I say, I say, I'm suspicious. What I am and who I am of is not for these to know. Those who hang an iron bell in their town are not getting strategic information for free from me.
And she laughs and kind of pats your cheek in a not quite matronly way, but perhaps roll me a wisdom check.
It's not an unfamiliar sensation. It's something that she used to do too.
Roll me an insight check.
Wait. Okay. That's going to be a 22 insight.
Okay. You can tell that you can clearly tell she knows more about what you're talking about than you do. And her laugh and pat on the cheek is, while not condescending, certainly the way that a veteran talks to a tyro, to a young green soldier first entering the battlefield. She removes her hand, and anybody who's looking at Diamondback, though Diamondback is not looking at himself, sees that he still has a thumb, sort of black smudge of a thumbprint on his forehead, right there. She looks at Talad and says, "Really?"
Talad's just gonna shift his eyes left to right and say, yes.
And she puts her hand up, not forcefully at all, but taps you on the temple of your head and says, "Does it ache?"
Talad's going to say, it used to.
He has recently escaped the benevolence of Simderon.
And she says, and she says to Talad, she acknowledges you and says to Talad again, turns back to Talad and says, "It will ache again, I believe." She's talking about your head aching.
Talad's just gonna look a little bit confused and take another mushroom to just gnaw on,
He's a fan of mushrooms.
Yeah.
She goes and turns and looks around a minute, and she goes to Neno and says, "The waters run deep with you."
Yes, ma'am.
That's all she says. She turns to Yoshka and then looks away and turns to Toll. And Toll, she comes up to you and she is looking at you at first, but she gets visibly distracted and sees your staff. And she says, "Oh, how did you meet Morris?"
That difficult question to answer. It was in dreamlike state.
And she says, she looks around and says, "Tell me tonight,
Okay.
And everybody else, by the way, her entire party, including Krafit, is just waiting for her. This is apparently part of her job, right, for the town. She turns to Belvari and is going to turn away, but suddenly steps back hard.
Did you mean to skip me?
No.
Okay.
Give me a sec.
Yep.
Hold on. Yeah, let me do Inkatink first. Sorry about that. She
That's
turns to Inkatink and says, "You know, not many of you live around here."
Not many of us live, man.
And she kind of does a gesture of almost preening on you that is like an affectionate thing that Kenku sometimes do to other Kenku. It's not like invasive at all, but it is really surprising to you for a non-Kenku to be doing it, to even know to do it.
I think a single tear like falls out of his eye.
Yep. And then finally, he turns to Belvari and is going to also sort of pass by. You seem to have been studied already by Krafit. She's not super concerned, but then suddenly she stops, takes an actual visible step backwards. And tell me where your medallion is on your person right now. Kind of clenched in your hand.
Yeah.
It's palm size, so it's small enough that in your hand you can fully make a fist and conceal it, but you couldn't hold anything else while you did that. But she sees your clenched hand and is clearly staring at your clenched hand and says, And she looks at Krafit and says, "It is not every day that I see something new." And then she walks back underneath the main platforms and leaves onto one of the platforms. Krafit, having heard everything she said, the whole town having heard everything she said, they just sort of acknowledge what she's told them. Maybe they understood some things, maybe not. But that's all that there was. That's where we're going to end this episode.
Quick.
Yep.
When you did the introductions, you basically introduced everybody, at least that we see, right? There aren't like other people.
He introduced everyone that you're aware of, including the one guy he pointed to, Lambro, who you couldn't see. So
Gotcha.
your impression is that's everybody.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's it for tonight. We're going to finish this episode. Let me say it this way. That's where we'll end this episode. Thank you for listening. You can get more details about the world and the story we're telling at the starfallcollective.com. Before we actually cut out on the recording, on the YouTube part, will y'all tell me about the next 2 weeks? We've got Christmas and then New Year's. I don't know about people's travel schedules. Do you want to, we could either continue doing them through Christmas, New Year's. We could not do 2 weeks and then come back January 7th or whatever that day is. Or we could do one or the other. What would y'all like?
I'll be available.
Okay.
I'd like to keep doing it.
I think I'd rather not do next week.
Okay.
But I'll be out of town.
It sounds like you're important for this part.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can just take a Christmas break.
Yeah, that's right.
Does that sound all right to everybody? So how about we don't do next week, but we do the day of the 3rd?
Yeah.
He said doo-doo.
I heard it too.
All right. That had me remembering somebody wanting more Frappuccino. Okay, well, great. Thanks. So we're going to miss next week, but we will continue on January 3rd. We will pick up the new year in this new town, in this new land with all this new information. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Didn't die.